Hi, and welcome to Crissy Talks. Do you know what my biggest fear is? It's the most irrational thing ever, and yet totally rational at the same time. I'm petrified of zombies. Irrational because, let's face it, it's never gonna happen. And totally rational because, well, who wants their face eaten by a flesh-eaten Karen? But this fear does not stop me from absolutely loving anything zombie-related. Be it zombie books like World War Z or zombie movies made by George R. Romero. But my favorite type of zombie related thing would be Capcom's Resident Evil. So on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ChrissyTina22, you can find the links in the description below. I stream every Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, and we're pretty much big Resi fans, and many discussions have been had. So I wanted to open the discussion to the world of YouTube. So our discussions really turned into what we wanted after Resident Evil 3 Remake. This was way before Resident Evil 4 Remake was announced. Did we really want a Resident Evil 4 Remake? No, not really, but we didn't disagree that a remaster would be amazing, because Resident Evil 4 is still a masterpiece today. It's still great. It still looks great. It just doesn't play great. The controls don't feel right for the current gen consoles. We kind of wanted Capcom to continue remaking the story that they were doing in the remakes. So with going with the story from the remakes, and as amazing as the original stories are, there's a few tiny plot holes that Capcom have been working to fill out. Spoiler alert, when Jill escapes Raccoon City in Resident Evil 3, at the very end, we see a person that we speculate is Chris, which gives us a kind of glimmer that maybe Capcom were gonna give us a Chris campaign? A whole different story for Resident Evil 4, perhaps? Honestly, the lore in Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake kind of backs up this theory. So in Resident Evil 2, when you gain access to the army room in the STAR's office, there's a letter from Chris saying that he's on vacation in Europe and is having a wonderful time, and that to tell Claire, if she comes looking, that he's okay. Capcom have gave us some information in regards to the creation of Nemesis, stating that the European branch had found a parasite that they had discovered in the wild, which they called the NE/A. This parasite couldn't be put into a normal host. It was too strong for a normal host. So what they did was they collaborated with the Raccoon City branch of Umbrella with the Tyrant virus, and combined the parasite with the Tyrant virus, which then created our beloved Nemesis. This was from an interview with one of Capcom's developers when they were talking about Nemesis in their multiplayer game. So, fan theory time. And I'm not sure if this is more fan theory or if it is actually like in the original games, but people suggest, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it is canon, maybe it's not, but Chris is in Europe. We know this. There's a letter proving this. And he's currently not on vacation, but on mission to infiltrate the European branch of Umbrella. We know that Nemesis was made in a European branch. There's a letter towards the end of the game in Resident Evil 3 saying exactly this. That the European sect of Umbrella works with parasites instead of the virus, and that they've combined it with the T-virus to make Nemesis. Is this parasite the Las Plagas parasite from Resident Evil 4? Who knows? Most likely. Is Chris in Europe investigating this parasite? Most likely. What I would have loved to have seen from a Resident Evil 4 game based around Chris would have been Chris teaming up with someone, whether it be a journalist wanting a big scoop or an insider from from the European raccoon facility, maybe teaming up. Chris could be fighting prototype infected bioweapons. I definitely feel like Albert Wesker should be here. Maybe he's just been kind of, I know, remade. You know, because we know he escapes in Resident Evil 1. We know this. So perhaps that he was transferred to Europe and given his extra abilities. You know, it would kind of solidify the hatred between Wesker and Chris more, because the next time Chris and Wesker meet in any of the games now is Code Veronica, and you do get the sense of they hate each other, like pure and utter hatred. They have it out for each other. So this would be a great chance to kind of make that hate like palatable. You know, I'm no story maker, so you know the story progresses. Chris finds out that Claire was indeed in Raccoon City looking for him. You know, that's maybe where he could be contacted by Jill telling him about the T-virus and, you know, giving him the little capsule you see at the end of Resident Evil 3. Perhaps, you know, she gets wind that Claire was in the city, but she's okay now. Maybe even Claire contacts Chris, or Chris contacts Claire, and you know, Chris is like, Claire, you stay there. And Claire's like, okay, where are you? And he's like, I'm in Europe, I'm doing this, it's an important. And Claire, being Claire, doesn't listen. She then goes to Europe to look for her big brother. You know, somehow she finds out that Chris is in Europe. I don't know, I'm not a story maker. You know, she goes to Europe, she infiltrates a Umbrella facility, she's caught and shipped off to Rockfort Island. Bam, we have our Code Veronica remake. Chris then receives an email from Leon. I mean, you know, there's a random dude just going to email him. Who the hell is Leon? You know, telling him that his sister has been captured and is in Rockfort Island. Chris now needs to kind of hurry up his mission. You know, he needs to save his little sister. So, you know, there's that kind of urgency, right? We need to do this, or no urgency at all. Maybe he just has to abandon it, which then explains why there's an outbreak of the Las Plagas parasite in a European village for Leon's story, which would be our current Resident Evil 4. You know, Chris then goes to Rockfort Island. We then have our beloved Code Veronica remake. And for me, that kind of ties everything together. I mean, even if they'd done it as a DLC, you know, Chris campaign as a DLC, I'd be happy with that. I kind of want Chris to be brought back into the focus, because we see Chris again in Resident Evil 5, and it's hilarious because he became the boulder punching Chris that we all laugh at. You know, so it would be nice to see Chris in a normal kind of role. You know, and that's what I feel is important, that we kind of bring Chris back down from being superhuman to, you know, just a brother who wants to protect his sister and yet wants to stop bioterrorism. You know, so that's my thoughts on what we could do next with the Resident Evil story. I'm not sure how Capcom are going to do Resident Evil 4 remake. It would be great if they gave Resident Evil 4 remake the same treatment as they've given the last two remakes. You know, keep the story fairly the same, but add or change, or, you know, put in little plot hole fillers. You know, that would be amazing. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that they make Ashley a little bit more tolerable. That AI isn't as bad as Sheva in Resident Evil 5, in my opinion. But why is she just staring at it?
Go! Roger.
But, you know, she's still quite annoying. But hey, if you have any theories or want to correct me on some of my flaws here, because I'm just going as a fan rambling here now, do let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. You know, I could be wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's fine. But don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and tickle the notification bell for any new content uploaded. I do try and upload twice a week, but we'll see how things go. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and I hopefully will see you all here again soon.